Hi, I'm Josh, the Dad of Hobbies. Today's hobby, this box, specifically what's inside. And this is actually one of the most anticipated collected editions, not only of 2026 already, but arguably for Superman comic fans ever. This box is huge, as you can see, and we're going to open it and I'm going to show you what's inside. Let's get to it. It's another box. Hooray! Before I reveal what's behind this, some of you may remember back in the early 90s, there was a huge comic event. It made international news. It was the death of Superman. That's right, they actually killed the character for about a year before, they realized you don't kill the golden goose, and he came back because it's comics. The comic has been collected in a variety of formats over the years, but one of the things that it has not been collected as is what's called an absolute edition. These are collected editions that showcase artwork that are meant to really make a big impact both on the shelf and in a collection. And now, this year, for the first time ever, the Death of Superman story has been collected in an absolute format. Now, there were two versions that were printed. One was a standard book with a slipcase hardcover. The other version was this. So I'm going to reveal this. Here you go. It's called the Tombstone version. They only made 1,993 of these because the year that the comic came out was 1993. So this is a very limited edition. This sold out almost immediately. And so let's open it up and see what's inside. But you can already see how beautiful this is. So this, in case you're wondering, this is not real stone, obviously. It's just laminate cover. But the emblem here is embossed. You can definitely feel a difference. The lettering here also embossed. And then this is where it opens. There's a magnet here, right? So it locks in place, so it keeps it nice and tight. And you can see the velvet goes all the way through there. I'll open it up for you. So one of the big things that this came with, this version, was a sketch from the original artist, Danny Jurgens, of Doomsday, the character that killed Superman. So you can see this sort of design sketch here. It's actually signed by him, and I got number 1343 of 1993. So random, there's no way to know which number you would get, but you can see there really only was just under 2,000 of these. So it was a very nice, very cool sketch. Everyone got this version, but it was really signed by him, and it's numbered as well. And I'm going to put that aside for a moment there, and then we take out the actual book. So we'll close that back up for the moment, and this is the book. So we can open this. What's interesting here is that they've done this as a resealable bag, so you don't actually have to cut this, which is nice because as a collector, I wouldn't want to ruin this. This is fun to have. So I can just open this up and pull it out as a normal bag. And this is the book. So Death of Superman Absolute Edition. This band here is really, really nice. It's a nice little band around there. There's a big thing for absolute collectors, whether you do the spine of slipcase out or the books. I much prefer spine. The problem is that DC is not consistent in this. So right here, you can see it says Death of Superman. Many of their absolutes do not have the name of the comic on the spine. So people like to do the book side out where you get the name of the comic. Although in this case, that's not true anyway. I will take out the contents of the slipcase now. So there are two things in here. First is the actual book, the actual story itself, and I'll cover that in a second. Second is this Daily Planet Press Archives. Says Save for Lois, Chief. What's interesting is you can sort of see that they've tried to give this some life, right? There's some coffee stains there, some things that make this folder feel like it's been passed around the office a few times. So we open this up. So here's what we got in here. So first off, some stickers, a couple stickers, which show images from the book. This is cool. So this is an armband that is meant to represent, in the comics, a lot of the heroes wore this once he died. So this is meant to be an actual real armband you could wear. So that's nice. That's cool. This is a certificate of death, which is interesting because, and it's hard for you guys to see the text on there, but it lists off Superman stuff, but not Clark Kent, right? So legal name, Kal-El, birthplace, Krypton, date pronounced dead is on here, description of the death, right? And it's sealed by, there's a little seal here, official seal of the President of the United States of America, which when this came out was Bill Clinton. And in the comic, there is a scene where you watch read Bill Clinton give a speech about Superman dying, which is kind of neat. So that's a nice thing there. This is the memorial service pamphlet, right? So what happened at his actual service, and it follows the issue about who spoke and things like that. The obituary, which it says here, written by R. Lowell Stearns. Roger Stern was one of the writers that was writing Superman at the time. A little playing card that also represents the tombstone. Big poster, which I suspect is going to be the heroes standing around in memoriam of Superman. One thing to note is you can see the armbands on a lot of the heroes. They're wearing that black armband that I showed you a moment ago. And the last thing in here, which is kind of interesting, only because I'll tell you in a second. So this is News Time is an in-universe sort of a play on Time magazine. So DC Comics produced what the magazine was, which is in the story. So what's interesting is that this is a reproduction for this Absolute Edition, but they actually made this back in 1993 as well, and they basically reprinted it, right? So you can see it's the same thing. However, the original version that they printed, that I bought when they first printed this back in the 90s, you can see that my original version has... So the added piece to the original that they didn't do for the new version is this was Clark Kent, shipped to Clark Kent's apartment because he was a subscriber of News Time. So I think it's a little interesting that they reprinted it. Looks almost identical, except for the fact that mine has the Clark Kent version. The other thing I have that is not as part of this Absolute collection, which I thought was interesting that DC did. One of the other things that was printed was a National Whisperer, sort of like National Enquirer, a fake newspaper about Superman sightings after he died, right? So I'm pumping gas, he was seen at a shopping mall, Humongous S appears in Kansas wheat field. Now I'm going to actually keep this with the Absolute Edition. I can put it back in that folder. I technically have two of these. I'll probably keep them both, but I like mine a little bit more because it's, Clark's, which I think is kind of nice. All right, so that's everything that was in this Daily Planet archive, and then we come to the book itself. So the book is wrapped, right, in cellophane. So let me carefully open that. So the first thing you see here is the tattered cape wrapping here. It's sort of the dust jacket's not really a good word because it's not really keeping anything not dusty, but I'm going to carefully remove that just to show it to you. It's kind of like a felty cardboard. Honestly, it's hard to describe in video. It's definitely fabric. It's some sort of linen of some kind. This is really cool. My worry about this is because there's so many flaps and frayed edges that this is going to wear and tear over time. So I may not keep this wrapped around the book. I will figure out how to handle this carefully. And then the book itself, right? So you can see again the embossed. So this image is one they used originally for the omnibus, which is a different type of format that collects a little bit more issues than this does. The big thing about this story is that the very last page, the original issue, was a flip out. This is true for the actual issue itself back in the 90s. So you'd see Lois cradling his body and then he dies. Sorry, I guess I'm kind of spoiling it, but it's called Death of Superman. Hopefully you figured out what happens. So the fact that they reprinted this in this Absolute format is very, very cool because some versions of collected editions don't do that. It's a separate page. The only other thing I want to share with you guys is something that you might not know the way that this was written. So the issues leading up to the story, and I'm going to show you this here. So you can see here that this issue where I've opened up is 4 panels per page. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's true as you go through, right? 4 panels. The next issue after that is 3 panels. You get 3 panels per page. And then as you keep going through the story, you eventually get down to 2 panels per page. And then by the time you get to the final issue, right, once you get to Superman 75, which is the death of issue, now everything is what is called a full page splash. Everything is just done in 1 page. And Dan Jurgens did this, and the art is brilliant. It's some of the best of his career. So that is it. That is the Tombstone edition of the Absolute Death of Superman. I'm going to put all this back, but you guys don't have to watch that. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe, and see what hobby we get into next.